Today we are going to learn how to configure more options to our guest OS or to our virtual machine, which we were able to create during our last tutorial, and it is the test OS. So I will click on the test OS, and as you can see, these are some of the options or configurations that we set when we created the virtual machine, and we can still create more options that will define on how our operating system or our virtual machine will behave or the way it will operate. And that can be done in two ways. I can right click on the virtual machine and click on settings, or I can just click on the virtual machine and click on the settings option here. Whichever is works for you or is best for you, use that. So we'll click on settings, and it will present me with options dialog box, and here it has the general options, and it tells me the name of the virtual machine, that it is of type Linux, that it is also 64-bit version of Ubuntu. I can check the advanced. We will learn more about the snapshots in the later tutorials. Here we also see if you can be able to share clipboard data. That means when you control C, control V, can you be able to copy on your host operating system and be able to paste on your guest operating system. As you can see here, is it from host to guest or from guest to host, or it can be either both way. So depending on the kind of security that you want or what works for you, you can choose which is also best for you. And the same also happens to drag and drop. You can be able to drag and drop data files either from host to guest or guest to host, or it can be bi-directional. That means it can work either way. I prefer to say disabled. I prefer that the host operating system to operate independently from the guest OS. That is my preference. See what works for you and use that. Description, basically you can give a description of the host OS, what it does, so that in case somebody else comes and sees the virtual machine, knows that this basically hosts let's say a web server, or you can say basically this is for tutorial purpose. You can also specify the disk encryption that will enable the virtual hard disk to be encrypted. It is very important, especially when you are running you are using the virtual machine for production, and it's running on very sensitive files or a very sensitive application. You can be able to encrypt the disk. It is very much possible. I will not do that because it takes more memory and more processing power to be able to encrypt and to decrypt. So we also going to see the system option. Here is where we can also be able to once more adjust the RAM. I will leave it at 2 GB, and also the boot order. You can specify the boot order to start with the floppy disk, maybe either optical or either hard disk. So when I click on one option, I can be able to order, but I prefer the way it is. Though I know floppy disks are extinct, you can also remove it completely from the boot order by unchecking that checkbox there. And also here we've got chipset. I will suggest you leave it default, because it really depends with the chipset that is in your motherboard. You can be able to emulate either PIX3 or ICH9. but I will prefer whatever the default that VirtualBox has given you to use that. And also here we've got the pointing device. At this moment it has specified that it is going to be a USB tablet. I want to change it to a PS2 mouse so that it acts as a pointing device or as a mouse cursor, because if you use the USB tablet, it will appear like a circle that you can be able to swipe, but I don't want, because it's going to be an Ubuntu operating system that works on a PC. I will just use a PS2 mouse. I will leave these extended features to the default the way they are. You can also change the processor, CPU, the core processor counts. You can maybe add to 2 or 3 and go ahead. I will leave them to the default the way they are. And also for the acceleration, I will leave the default the way they are. Mostly I wouldn't want to mess with this configuration, because depending with your hardware and depending also with the kind of operating system you are running, it will actually have a tremendous effect. So whatever VirtualBox has suggested for you, we can stick to that. There is also the display option. Here we can allocate the video memory. Here I can be able to increase. I might go to 128. Your virtual machine may give you more or different options than mine, but I said we stick it to the green area, so I can give it full 128 MB. That means my display is going to be quite responsive and is going to be fast, as opposed when you limit to few megabits. It's going to take time to refresh, it's going to take time to respond, but I'm going to give it full 128 MB. At the monitor count, you can put more, but me, I have one monitor. At the moment I have one monitor. If you have several monitors, you can just add as you want, because mine it's one. You can see here it's just red, so we'll stick to just one monitor count. Here for the graphics controller, I also suggest you leave it the way it is. There is Xbox VGA. The Xbox VGA depends with the operating system that you are running. If you run maybe Android software, you might want to use the Xbox VGA because it is not really conversant with the VMS VGA, and those are the intricacies of the graphics controller. You really not need to know about so much about the graphics controller. Whatever VirtualBox sets for you, just leave it as default, because it will work perfectly and optimally. I will also enable 3D acceleration, especially when my virtual machine wants to render 3D graphics. We can also go to storage. Here now we can see the controller IDE. Here is this now is a virtual CD drive. So the optical drive I can be able to remove from virtual drive. I can be able, but so this is basically a CD drive representation, and also the test.os.vdi. The VDI is the file extension for the VirtualBox hard drive. So here we can see that the virtual size is supposed to be 10 GB, but the actual size is 2 MB. Mostly the 2 MB is from the configurations that you have made. And also we've got the audio. Here now is where you can specify either should it be enabled or should it be disabled. You can use that by checking or unchecking the enable audio option. And for the other extended features, you can either enable audio output, maybe when you want to listen to music from your virtual OS, or want to hear sounds from your guest OS or the virtual machine, you can check this, that should be enabled. And also if you want to enable audio input through microphone, you can also do the same. I won't use microphone for this virtual machine, so I will leave it the way they are. For the network, there is a tutorial specifically for the network and how to configure networks, but you are going to leave it the way it is for now for the default. And also there are tutorial for serial ports, USB, shared folders, and user interface. So I will press on OK to be able to apply those changes. And at this point now I can be able to click start, so that I can be able to run my OS. So I will click on start. It may take a while. So here it tells me that my virtual machine is powering up, and it's just checking everything to be okay. It's just checking that the ISO image for the operating system is available. It's just checking to see that the audio configuration they are okay, and now it's booting up. I will click to clear the message. So it's going to take quite a while depending on the operating system that you are installing. In my case, I'm installing Ubuntu. It might take 30 minutes to 40 minutes to 1 hour. So I will have sometimes to be able to pause on the video and play back again where there is important steps that we need to have as when we're installing our operating system. So we need to be patient. Now the Ubuntu OS is loading. Now here we are given option, just the way you are going to install other operating systems, you are just going to do the same. So I will click on install Ubuntu. Sorry, I will click on install Ubuntu. Because we want to install it on our machine, it will set up the clock. Here we can change the time zone for the purpose of this recording. We can use maybe Algeria time or Nairobi. I can use it Nairobi, Kenya. Click forward. So suggested option is for the USA for the keyboard layout. I will pick that default. So it tells me if I want to erase and use the entire hard disk. I will say yes. I will say yes. So, and I will click on forward. So it gives me an option to supply a username for this machine. So I will write test admin, and there I will also put a password. Click on forward. and these are the defaults whatever I've used. The language for the keyboard, the layout the language for the system, the layout for the keyboard, the username, the login name, the location, and I will click on install. You might also want to enlarge after the installation is complete, which is a very straightforward after you've supplied the configuration or the options that the operating system needs to use. So it went all through the installation, and now it's giving us an option to be able to restart the virtual machine. So here basically you will just click on restart now, so that you can be able to restart the operating system and use it. Thank you for watching this tutorial. Next tutorial we are going to learn how we can be able to configure networks in our virtual machine in Oracle VirtualBox.